Welcome to TNZ Talk with radio veteran Tony Trupiano and Huffington Post blogger and writer at Liberals Unite, Richard Zombeck, where they do lean left, but always talk straight.
There's something happening here. This land is your land. It takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down.
There is power in our union. We fascists goodbye.
TNZTalk.com is information central for the show, including a place to make a donation, subscribe to the show, listen and get the archives, and to find your favorite player. Check us out now at TNZTalk.com.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get wrapped up in the music because I dig the music. Welcome, everybody, to this Thursday, September 15th, 2016 edition of Lumps Under Trump's Nose, or on his breasts, or his obese belly. It's just insane. I am Tony Trupiano. Joining me now is Richard Zombeck, really the god of TNZ Talk at TNZTalk.com. And Professor, it is such a pleasure to share the airwaves with you as the guy in the background continues to bang away anyway.
I hear that. How'd you like our new intro?
I loved the new intro.
I thought it was pretty good.
Something's happening here, Z.
Something is happening here.
Let me make a point that something actually is happening
but
here.
But what it is ain't exactly clear.
Well, this one is, though, and I'm happy to say this one is pretty clear. Our list of listeners is growing quite quickly.
Yeah, it is.
And that's, of course, a very good thing.
It is. I'm thrilled, actually. I was, I want to start doing 3 shows a day.
Okay.
Like maybe one day a week.
Yeah, like Wheel of Fortune, where you do them all in one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. I think that's Wheel of Fortune. That is Wheel of Fortune where they do that. Well, we'll put some thought to that. We'll just do them all in one day and pretend like nothing happened on the other days.
Yeah. Well, all we got to really do is talk about Trump.
Yeah, but he seems to find a way to make news in different ways every day.
Yeah.
It's sad, but
Listen,
it's true.
To be honest with you, I can't wait till November, and I really hope he's not president, because I think if I have to talk about Trump for 4 years, I think I'm just going to pack it in, Tony.
We've actually had this discussion before.
I know, and we still haven't packed it in.
No, and in fact, for those that have only recently discovered us, or those that haven't listened from the very beginning, when Donald Trump first announced, you and I laughed, had fun, really picked apart his, opening speech and the way he offended Hispanics, etc. And I believe it was me. I'll quote myself. If he's around a week from now, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Imagine how many times my heart has stopped since that first week.
Yeah, well, it really is kind of amazing. And what continues to amaze me is that really, no matter what he says, no matter how hypocritical he is, no matter how ridiculous he is, no matter who comes out and says this guy can't become president, his numbers don't change. And I mean, nothing happens. He says some of the most ludicrous things that if anyone else, literally, and I'm not kidding, if anyone else said it, it would have ended their campaign.
All right, so we don't want to do the lay on the couch thing today, but you are completely correct, and unfortunately so. And we take a look at just kind of what transpired over the last 24 hours. But I want to, I just want to quickly, and we're not going to stick on this, please, very long. This whole health thing. Hillary Clinton releases a clinical breakdown of her health condition, including stuff we probably don't even need to know, and I'm glad they didn't include pap smears. Thank you. Donald Trump's doctor puts out a one-page report that basically says he's on statins, and then Dr. Oz looks at it, and for those that haven't seen the show yet, and see, in my market, it's not on until 3 p.m. Eastern time, so it hasn't aired yet. I'm not going to watch it. But, Dr. Oz says, well, for a man that's 70 years old, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and, well, I don't, it is relevant, only because Trump is a clown, but Dr. Oz was also raised a devout Muslim. One parent was fundamentalist, very strict Muslim, and the other not so much. But so I found it ironic that the person that he trusted the most to dispel his incredible health was a Muslim.
Well, and of course, most people don't know that Dr. Oz is a Muslim. They don't know that his name is Ozmet, his last name. But whatever. All that aside, none of that really matters. In the bigger picture, none of that really matters. What really matters is that when Donald Trump was asked how old he felt, he said, "I feel like I'm 35."
Yeah.
Now,
30,
I want
30,
you. He said 35.
Did he?
Yeah. I want you to share with this audience why he eats fast food.
Oh, yeah. So he said he tends to eat fast food because he knows what's in it.
Okay.
So there are two,
and yet he eats it anyway.
There are two kind of concerning issues around that statement. Is one, if he really means that and knows what's in it, then that's pretty disgusting that he would continue to eat it. And two, if he says, at least I know what's in it, and he's talking about the consistency overall in a chain, then it also shows what a moron he is. So either way, it shows what a moron he is. Because if he's eating it because he thinks it's actually good ingredients that are in it, and that's why he eats that, because that's the consistency he's looking for, is, oh, well, I know that they have good ingredients in this food, and it's the same, any McDonald's I go to is the same. Yes, it's the same disgusting crap. And if he actually knows what's in it, he's an idiot to even walk through those doors.
Thank you, and that just kind of reaffirms what I was going to say, but it does. That's fine. Now, I don't put this in the breaking news category per se, but just before we went on air to record today's podcast, I found and posted to social media, including TNZTalk.com podcast or TNZ Talk podcast on Facebook, an article. Vice is now suing the IRS for Donald Trump's tax returns.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Now, that said, there was an article. If you remember a couple episodes ago, we talked about good news, bad news sites, right? Sites that have clickbait and sites that have legitimate articles that we actually try as hard as we can to make sure that we're accurate, like Liberals Unite and Sam Wardy's site. And on my Facebook page today pops up a story from Reverb Press saying that Obama has the legal right to request Donald Trump's tax records from the IRS. What they didn't mention is that, yes, in fact, the President of the United States can request the tax records of an individual for the purposes of vetting, but they cannot share it with anyone, period. That includes the vice president, that includes his wife, his grandmother, his mother, nobody. It is something that there is a statute that allows the president to do that, but only under certain circumstances. And this is, again, an example of clickbait, that Obama can ask for Donald Trump's records and share them with us all. And again, so Sam Wardy, who I write for on Liberals Unite, actually took a hit today and took them off of his Facebook pages because we're finding that we're actually getting more complaints from these clickbait articles. And Liberals Unite on Facebook and the website is actually starting to be seen as a relatively good source of news. So,
it's interesting, and I saved the article and let me see if it's still in my inbox or if I filed it. I filed it. Anyway, Facebook has become the second most popular way for people to get their news. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, Z.
What's the first?
I don't have the article in front of me. I think it was like NPR or some mainstream media outlet. Anyway, it's interesting and, of course, relevant, having just brought that up. Now, you and I have both had this conversation with people. A lot of people. They'll say something, and then we'll ask, well, where did you get that information? Well, on the Internet. Well, be more specific. Drudge Report. Okay. Or, the Fox News website. Or whatever. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend the New York Times and the Washington Post or any other mainstream outlet. They have become very biased. Understandably, I would, too, if Donald Trump were the Republican nominee. In fact, you and I are doing that because he's the nominee. But with all that said, and I often tell people, and this goes back to, for me, the year 2000, so that's 16 years ago. I had a gentleman on my program by the name of Gerald Celente. Gerald Celente wrote a book called Trends 2000. And so I probably had him on the show in 97, 98. And the internet was just beginning to blossom. And one of the things he wrote about in Trends 2000, one of the dangers was bookmarking news sites and relying on just a handful of news sites, no matter what their orientation was, to get your information. And one of the things that he suggested or recommended in this book, in that certain chapter, was that you rotate and you get news from foreign sources, like I do, The Guardian and Investors Daily and certain other publications.
BBC, Al Jazeera, yeah.
Absolutely. And I go to them every day, and one of the things that I like to do is to compare stories. Now, rarely do I pounce on one or the other or go, this is what I found here, or this is what I found there. But I do remind people quite often, especially when they're challenging me with bullcrap information, and I don't even tell them where to go. I just tell them explore other sources and then come back to me. 99% of the people will come back to me and say, well, I Googled this and what I posted is there. That's not what I asked you to do.
Well, like Rudy Giuliani says, just Google Hillary Clinton and illness.
Right, but my point is people just are really freaking lazy. They're just lazy.
Yeah.
And it's deplorable.
Well, look, I was writing an article yesterday. I was going on old news that Donald Trump was going to go on Dr. Oz and release his medical records, and then he decided an hour before the taping of the show that he wasn't, and that was my story. And I posted it. I put it up for publication. I notified Sam that it was up, and I got an email from Sam about a half hour later, maybe an hour later, that said, this is based on old information. He did, in fact, he pulled out his medical records on the show, and I had to kill the story. I spent, a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours writing the story, and I had to kill it because it was no long. Now, I could have gotten hits on it. I could have made some money on it. There could have been advertising dollars, but the story wasn't accurate, and Sam was willing to pull it, and so was I, because it was no longer accurate. And we were not willing to get caught at that. More along those lines. I don't know if you watched Lawrence O'Donnell last night. Well, it's past your bedtime. But Lawrence O'Donnell was on yesterday talking about an article in the New York Times and how the New York Times had covered Donald Trump's beautiful, beautiful, most wonderful speech on child care and maternal and paternal leave and stuff like that, and how in the speech he said that Hillary Clinton has not addressed this issue at all. Now, let's not forget that Hillary Clinton, since she left law school, has been addressing the issue of children and mothers and working mothers and all of that. But what he said unequivocally stated that there is nothing on her website. She has not released any policy whatsoever. And Lawrence O'Donnell's problem with the New York Times was that in their effort to try to be fair and balanced and non-biased, they wrote that Donald Trump stretched the truth when he said that, no, he didn't stretch the truth, he lied.
He lied.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that someone lied if they lied.
Well, when this goes back to the conversation that we had on Tuesday about NPR. Howard Dean was on MSNBC, and he just said, I'm stopping listening to them anymore. And I understand his frustration because in their over-aggressive attempt to be quote-unquote fair, they're being unfair. And you don't need to make stuff up about Hillary Clinton or talk about emails when that issue is pretty much dead and buried. I mean, what's the point of doing that? Donald Trump is a hot mess. Everything he says is a lie, believe me. And the media, and you and I had this conversation a year ago and continue to have the conversation repeatedly. The media is responsible for his ascension because they didn't shut him down when they could, and now it's too late. Or when they should have, probably more appropriately.
Yeah, no. We're in complete agreement. Listen, I have a problem right now. We have a lot of audio today.
Uh-huh.
And there's some particular pieces that I want to get to because I think they're relevant to this conversation, particularly the part about lying. I'd like to get through at least the two of the Kellyanne comments.
Go for it.
And okay,
go for it.
So, what the hell's her last name? Kellyanne Connor, who is Trump's campaign manager, was on an interview, a very good interview. Actually, a lot of the stuff that we have up here for audio is about really good journalism. Really good reporting. This woman from CNN that her name escapes me right now, but also Joy Reid had an interlude with Boris Epstein, one of Trump's surrogates. But I want to play this Kellyanne piece for a couple of reasons. One, her reaction to the question, which is particularly relevant because a lot of people who are, used to simply going on TV and saying whatever the hell they want are reacting in a way that it almost appears like they're shocked to be asked questions about their integrity and their truthfulness. And reporters, as far as I can see, seem to be less talking heads these days. I think there's a level of frustration among the media that they've kind of let things go for a really long time. I want to hope that they feel culpable for what's happened here, for the rise of people like Trump, and that we're starting to see, and this is the strange thing, Tony, we're starting to see particularly female reporters start to get very aggressive.
Well, very, very quickly, and I want to get to this audio as well, and I want to get through all of it. We've got a couple Kellyanne Conner pieces, Joy Reid for sure. But I was watching MSNBC very, very briefly late this morning. And I don't even remember who the talking head was. But she had the woman on, the former state senator that ran against John McCain in the primary, Mary or something or other. She's a doctor. The point is she's a doctor. And so they were having a brief exchange about medical records. And this woman said something, and the talking head, somebody I'm not familiar with, she might have been, it's the time of year where people are finishing up vacations, whatever. She says to her, I appreciate all that. And I've given you 5 minutes to discuss this, and you still haven't answered the basic question. Hillary Clinton provided us with 11 pages of unfettered, normal medical records. Not letters, just medical records, which she did not have to do. Donald Trump has a one-page letter from a doctor that told us a month ago that he was the healthiest man that would ever be elected president if elected. How do you reconcile that? You didn't answer that question. All you did was tell us that Hillary lied about having pneumonia, which, by the way, Z, she didn't lie about. She just didn't share it.
Right. Well,
anyway, let's get to this audio because you and I could do this all day.
Yeah. So here's Kellyanne Conway on CNN. This is a beautiful interview. Listen in particular to the reporter. I wish I could remember her name because I was really impressed by this.
Has Donald Trump, or will he release anything from the IRS, a letter from the IRS proving that he's under audit?
I'm sorry?
Will Donald Trump release anything from the IRS proving that he's under audit?
I don't know. Why? In other words, why are you calling him a liar?
Well, we're taking his word for it.
Are you calling him a liar? And we're taking Hillary Clinton's word for that she was overheated and didn't have pneumonia, or that she's going to be aspirational uplifting, or she's going to start talking to the press again. I mean, seriously, we're running against a Clinton and we're going to challenge someone's veracity.
Beautiful. So you've run for office. I've reported
and run from it.
I've reported on people running for office. I did it in North Carolina. We had a major election, and we had to interview people from every side. And the cardinal rule is you never, ever say, "Are you calling me a liar?"
No, and in fact, I was watching Chris Matthews last night, and I don't know Alex's last name, but he's a Republican consultant, is leading one of the pro-Trump PACs. You would know him if you saw. He's been on Meet the Press on Sunday many times. Anyway, he was getting nowhere with this guy. And you know Chris Matthews has a very short fuse.
Oh, particularly when it comes to not having his questions answered.
Right. So he says to this guy, all right, I'm going to make this easier for you. Do you agree or disagree with a basic tenet that I have repeated ad nauseum in my career about politicians? That if they easily tell you, it's probably the truth. If they make up reasons to not tell you, it's either a lie or they don't want you to know something. And he wouldn't answer the question. So this is what Chris Matthews did. Immediately, Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Coming up next on Hardball.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the interviewer that's interviewing Kellyanne is Allison Camerota, and she's on New Day on CNN. So that's who that is.
In fact, when I posted that yesterday, I titled it, "Watch Kellyanne Conway get her ass handed to her by a CNN reporter."
Yeah.
And that's basically what happened, because she didn't let up. Now, we've got more. We're not done with Kellyanne Conway.
Well, listen, let's go back to Kellyanne Conway. Since you brought up Chris Matthews, let's go to Joy Reid, where she's talking with Boris Epstein. How's that?
Hey, you're the one that pushes the go button,
all right,
so it's fine with me.
Let's do that, because right now we're kind of in a mode of talking about good journalism, and this was particularly good. It's a little long; it's about 3 minutes, but I really want the audience to listen to the way Joy Reid addresses what the Trump campaign has typically done, which is, your candidate, Donald Trump, has not released his taxes. Well, let's talk about Benghazi and what Hillary did in Benghazi. And you and I know, and have been in conversations like this. It happened with my dad, who was a Romney supporter, and I would say, Mitt Romney made this comment, and he would say, well, what about the comments Obama made? And I would have to stop the conversation and say, listen, we can talk about Obama if you want. We'll talk about him as long as you want. But right now we're talking about Mitt Romney. And let's stick to that. And I was finding that not happening in the news, right? They would ask a question, the person speaking or the surrogate for the candidate would continue on and talk about whatever the hell they wanted, and the person running the show, the moderator or whatever you want to call them, would just sit there. A lot like Matt Lauer did with Donald Trump during the military forum there, the commander-in-chief forum. He just basically let him say whatever he wanted and got hammered for it. So here's Joy Reid with Boris Epstein, who's a Russian immigrant, by the way, and part of the Donald Trump campaign.
And, Boris, it was an interesting contrast when you saw Mike Pence come out and do what candidates normally do. He says, I can't talk about the details of this briefing. I thought it was a very good briefing, et cetera. He was very benign, which is what you normally hear presidential candidates do. Why would Trump essentially seem to try to apparently leak what happened in the briefing and then also get it wrong? Why don't you answer my question?
She didn't leak one thing. There was a candidate who did speak about her intelligence briefings. That was in 2008, and that was Hillary Clinton, who came out of an intelligence briefing.
First of all, you know what? Hold on a second. No. You hold on.
Let me finish.
You didn't answer it. Hold on, Boris. Boris, I'm going to let you in. Boris, we're not going to crosstalk. Okay. One of us is going to talk at a time. And when it's AM Boris, you can talk whenever you want.
Sure,
we're going to talk one at a time on this show.
To me.
And I'm going to propose you, before you finish your answer, I'm going to propose a kind of syllogism. Okay? It's not a perfect syllogism for people who studied philosophy. But if I ask you a question about Donald Trump, and you give me an answer about Hillary Clinton, I think it's fair for the people who are watching this show to come to the conclusion that either A, you don't know the answer to my question, B, the answer to my question would not help your candidates, you don't want to give it, or 3, you're not here to answer my questions. You're here to give talking points that help your candidate. So now I'm going to ask you the question again.
Sure.
Why would Donald Trump leak what turns out to be completely specious information from the briefing he was given by
What information did he leak, Joy?
He claims that he heard the advisors say that they don't like it, that he read their body language.
No, he didn't claim that.
Should we play it again? Can my producers, can we rewrap what Donald Trump said about the briefing that he had? Do we have that? All right, we're going to get some time on that. I'm going to move on with you, Boris, and stay with you for just a second. Given all of the questions that have been raised, not just by Democrats, but by even Republicans, by editorial boards. Oh, wait, we do have that sound? All right, let's play that sound.
Let's do it.
Let's play that.
I could tell, I have pretty good with the body language, I could tell they were not happy. Our leaders did not follow what they were recommending.
But do you want to be complimented by that former KGB?
We can stop it there. Why would Donald Trump do that?
Why would he say that he read their body language? Because that's what he did. He's being honest about it. With all due respect to Malcolm, he was not in the briefings. Donald Trump was. You have to take his word for it.
You have to take his word for it. Let me get your your response to that, Malcolm.
Negative. I've given strategic level briefings to high-level battlefield commanders, and I will tell you right now, all right, the utmost of unprofessionalism would be to make anything other than the intelligence that's there. The briefers themselves do not make recommendations. They don't say anything other than answering the questions that they're asked, because the people who are getting the information are the consumers of intelligence. We are the producers of intelligence. We may interpret it if given a recommendation, but it'll go through a very long chop change.
Malcolm was not in the room, right?
Well, you know, with all due respect, you know, I don't have to be in the room because I've done it before.
So
what you're saying is
guessing about what happened in there.
I'm gonna don't make me cut your mic. When Malcolm is talking, you're not talking.
My mic if you want.
Go ahead.
To the woodshed.
I want to be. Wait. Before you say a word, Richard Zombeck and I are practically married. We can finish each other's sentences at this point. This morning was a great example. I went to pull audio. When I went to post it, he had already posted 80% of what I was going to do. But folks, the real telltale sign here is that last weekend, and Z and I really don't communicate much on the weekends because we actually need some, time with whatever else we're doing. He sends me a text, Joy Reid rocks. For him to do that on a weekend was pretty damned impressive. Oh, and by the way, Z, you're right. She does.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely beautiful. And the third voice we heard there was Malcolm Nance, who was a terror analyst for MSNBC, who also worked for the CIA and gave these analyses. And I find it shocking and humorous that Boris Epstein thinks that he can say, "Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about," because you weren't in the room. To a guy who's given these briefings, to a guy that knows that when you're giving these briefings, you're trained to not display body language that would give away an opinion. And the other thing is, too, that's really important about what Donald Trump said was that, they weren't happy with the advice that they gave, is that he obviously doesn't know how things work, because the people who give these briefings are not there to give their advice to the president and to the generals. They're there to present facts. They're there to present an analysis of the intelligence that they've received through various means, and that's all they're there for. They're not there to advise.
No, and furthermore, also in that briefing is a member of the FBI that is under order to not utter a word, not even a silent fart. And so if what Donald Trump said was true, those briefers would have been fired and we would know about it.
Well, and that's the thing, and apparently they were all talked to. What Donald Trump said during that quote unquote town hall, that spectacle, caused a lot of issues at Homeland Security, at the CIA, at the NSA. It caused a lot of issues, and a lot of these people were put under the microscope because of what he said. Which is another way of saying is he threatened highly classified career agents that would have been without a job the rest of their lives. Right.
That's what would have happened. That's why you don't frickin' open your mouth, you asshole.
Oh.
Not you, Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
I got to mark that. I'm going to have to beep that.
It just gets to the point, though. It gets to the point where you have to really start wondering, what in the hell is this country thinking about? You know what? I don't know how accurate the polls are. I have no clue. But I see them every morning, and they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And the media just sucks on that like a teat from a cow.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, if those polls are accurate, this country is sick. I mean deeply, deeply mentally ill. And I'm tired of hearing, Z, that if we had a better Democratic candidate, this wouldn't be happening. You know what? We have a fine candidate. We have a learned candidate. We have an experienced candidate. What we don't have is a candidate that's smooth and a good salesperson. She's not Obama. She's not her husband. Hell, she's not even Mitt Romney, for God's sake. But you know what? Her credentials are freaking impeccable. And even Colin Powell, in the now leaked emails, said that Benghazi was a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And he hates Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just, you know me, every now and then I lose my temper. This is one of them times.
No, and actually I'm looking for this article. Sam Wang wrote an article. Sam Wang is a polling guru. And Sam Wang thinks that we're all being ridiculous. Here's what he writes. I'm gonna read this really quickly. I'm not gonna read it so you can't understand it, but I just want to get through this. My reason for generating the best prediction I can is to reduce the noise of campaign news. I thought it would clear mental space for thinking about policies or down-ticket issues. The calculation says that Clinton's win probability is 90%. Still, the comment section is still peppered with anxious question about Clinton's chances. Honestly, some liberals can be total ninnies.
Huh. Okay.
And that was from an article by Kevin Drum in Mother Jones. The title of that, if anyone wants to look it up, is Sam Wang Wants Everyone to Settle Down. So there we go. So we could actually just completely be wasting our time. Should we get to Kellyanne losing it on CNN?
Yeah, we've got a couple more. One of them, well, yeah, just go ahead and play them. I think they'll be self-explanatory.
Okay.
And it's unbelievable. Will Hillary Clinton disavow? I mean, does she think Kermit Gosnell is deplorable, who was killing black babies in Philadelphia? Does she think that the people saying that calling cops pigs in a blanket and asking for their death deplorable? I sure do. And we can go through name after name. I'll sit here between now and Election Day. We won't get to the tens of millions of people Hillary Clinton was referring to by calling them deplorable. She was referring to hardworking men and women. It wasn't a gaffe. Please, print journalists, be a little responsible. Stop calling it a gaffe. She was reading it from prepared remarks, as she always does, and she had said it before.
Okay, I want to take over here for a minute, and I want to play something. I have a little montage that I had to do a lot of work on because I had to bleep a lot of things out of it. But I want you to remind me of what Kellyanne said when she basically said that Clinton's remark was not off the cuff. Okay?
Okay.
And hopefully I'll try to remember that myself, but I'm getting old. So here's a montage of what and whom Hillary Clinton was most likely referring to.
An illegal alien from hell. Go back to Africa!
Look at you, dude!
Hey, Islam. Allah's a whore. Jesus is the most high God, and you bitches are done. You dirty whore!
F those goddamn Muslim pieces of shit.
Our country! I'm proud f***ing American! Made in USA, bitch! Made in USA! Come f***ing cook my burrito, bitch!
Is it okay that the Muslims come in here and attack us and bomb us, and they're going to bring Sharia law in?
We problem in this country, it's called Muslims. We know our current president is one.
Right.
You know he's not even an American.
He knows what needs to be done.
What needs to be done?
Well, like he said, make America great again.
Don't fucking make my tortilla, mother and build a fucking wall for me! Trump! I love Trump! I love my country!
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder what she meant when she made the comment that. So here's the thing. There was the basket of deplorables comment has been talked about and talked about and talked about. Hillary Clinton did not make this off the cuff. I completely agree with Kellyanne Conway on that. She did not make this off the cuff. Hillary Clinton has been doing this for 25 years. She knows how to give speeches. She knows what'll work, and she knows how things will work. And
by the way, she's been doing it for 40 years, and I need to correct you on that because it's important.
Okay,
Go ahead.
So for 40 years. But she's been playing the game with this press for a long time, and she's a pro. And what she did by saying what she said was she turned the tables on Trump, and almost with surgical purpose, by saying that. Because what that caused the press to do was to find out if what she was saying was actually true. Right? And we had Dana Milbanks write the story. We had
Great segue.
Yeah. We had all of this come up, right? And so it wasn't she and her staff did this, and it was brilliant. Because she didn't come out and apologize for the comment. She apologized for, I might have been wrong about the amount of people.
Now, let's go back to the conversation that you and I had the other day where we had to agree to disagree. And I pointed out what you agreed with. But what I pointed out was the difference between her comments and Romney's 47% comment is that she wanted the deplorables, basket of deplorables comment to be public. She wanted that. As you just stated, she knew what she was doing. Mitt Romney was trying to do this in a private meeting with a bunch of money people. So there's a huge difference between those, because that's what the comparison was. Not yours, but the media comparison was.
Yeah. Well,
with that said...
Well, wait. With that said, I want to read a quote from an interview with Donald Trump. Okay, this is what he said. The problem we have right now, we have a society that sits back and says we don't have to do anything. Eventually, the 50% cannot carry, and it's unfair to them, but cannot carry the other 50%. So according to him, 50% of the people are lazy and just laying on the couch collecting welfare.
You're right. And the media made little or no mention of that. And when it was made, it wasn't pushed. And there's a reason why. And you and I both know what that reason is. People that support Trump don't care.
Right.
Now, here's the problem with that. We're not just talking to the people that support just Trump or just Hillary, are we? No. No, we're not.
Well, the problem is that the people that support Trump think that they're the ones that are paying for everyone else when they're the ones actually on Medicare, food stamps, collecting unemployment, on welfare. It's poor, white, uneducated males in the South that are really the largest burden on welfare, food stamps, and Medicare.
Absolutely. Before we play the Dana Milbank audio, I have moved to basically the state capital of Michigan. And I had a meeting downtown at the Capitol this morning. And so I went, and as I was leaving, I ran into a highly decorated political operative. And we were BSing, and we were talking about a certain person who won a primary who will be elected to the state house in January. The community that he represents is 95% Muslim. He says, I need to run into my office real quick and grab something. Just give me 2 minutes and I'll be back. They have an advance of a mailer that's going out by his Republican opponent that has written across it in big red, dripping with blood letters. Do you know what Sharia law is? Because we're about to have it in the state of Michigan.
Oh, boy. Which, anyone who knows anything knows that that's impossible.
Well, but you know what? Trump has given people permission not just to lie, but to lie big.
Yeah.
And have you noticed that? See, it's not just Trump that's lying big anymore. And people are going for major whoppers now. Major whoppers. Anyway, Dana Milbank of the Washington Post wrote a column the other day that explained who the deplorables were. And in fact, defined them, oh, by the way, folks, in a factual manner. Anyway, let's listen to that audio.
Dana Milbank, opinion writer for The Washington Post, who just penned a piece. Yes, half of Trump supporters are racist. Dana Milbank, thank you so much for joining me.
Good to be here.
So in reading your piece, you say Clinton wasn't wrong. You went on to say, if anything, she lowballed the number, and this election has showed us that there is actually so much more racism in this country than we believed.
It's true, and I'm not, making the argument that half or more of Trump supporters, are putting on sheets at night. Not that kind of racist. But and I'm also not saying that it was smart of Hillary Clinton to say such a thing. And I think you're seeing the blowback for that there. But if you actually look at things like the American National Election Survey, sort of the gold standard of research that's been going on in survey research in this country for years, you actually can unpack this numbers. And there's been a huge jump in the amount of racial stereotypes expressed by white people in America, people who will say that black Americans are less intelligent or are lazier than white Americans. And it's really quite shocking. Something like 62% of white voters have these sorts of sentiments, and by better than 2 to 1, they vote Republican. So as a matter of statistics, it is probably true that people expressing racist sentiment constitute more than half of Trump supporters. They were, in fact, more than half of Mitt Romney supporters. And now you see Trump obviously taking the rhetoric far beyond anything the Republicans have before.
Okay. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
All right. I want to get to the last Kellyanne Conway audio on
do we have
Trump.
to?
Yeah, we do, actually. The Trump Foundation charity, which, by the way, the story today is Trump bought a 6-foot statue of himself with charity money. But nobody knows where it's at.
Yeah.
I can guess. It's in his bathroom, so when he is self-gratifying himself in the golden bathtub, he's got that visual to go with.
All right, and I have a little audio surprise for you that we can either play before Kellyanne or after.
It's up to you. Again, you push the buttons, brother.
Let's play Kellyanne on the charity piece, because again, this is Alyssa. I can't remember her last name, but the CNN reporter that we heard earlier. Really, that Kellyanne calls it badgering. I call it reporting. But here is more of that interview.
Just don't buy that claim that is coming from the Trump campaign. We ask lots of questions of the Clinton campaign, but when you're here representing the Trump campaign, we ask these questions because you also can't just make claims and expect everyone to just accept it. So the idea that
I think Donald Trump's a very generous man, and
yes, and what's the evidence?
To have employed tens of thousands of people from many different countries, both genders certainly, from all walks of life, over the years.
Sure, but that's not charity. I mean, employment is not charity.
It's pretty darn impressive, and it's certainly the political resume that his opponent has.
but what has he given to charities? Well, he's employed a lot of people. It's like when he says, you insulted the Khan family, and they've sacrificed a lot for this country. Well, I've sacrificed a lot for this country too. Well, what have you sacrificed? Well, I've built buildings. I've employed people.
No. Grand buildings, yeah. Not just buildings. Grand buildings.
I've built a lot of great stuff. I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to build a wall.
He's going to build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. And by the way, it will come in under budget. And he's said that repeatedly.
Which is good because it'll save the Mexicans a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be using slaves.
There's the mixed message. All right, I want the audio surprise now.
All right. Well, this is funny. I came across this, and I'm trying to find it now. There we go. I came across this. I want you to mute your mic because I know you're going to laugh, and I don't want that to be recorded like it is sometimes.
Oh, okay. Well, that was funny the other day. So anyway, go ahead.
These are, oh no, when you were laughing at that was terrific. But during the audio, this is a montage of speeches throughout history that may have been given if Trump were president at the time.
All right, I'll mute now.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth a nation based on the proposition that all men are created equal. Which, let's be honest, that's not true. They're losers, they're haters, and the wives they're with, they're dogs.
Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. Except for the Irish. I mean, Ireland. They're not sending us their best. They're bringing crime. They're bringing beer. They're rapists.
Mr. President, the Russians are approaching Cuba.
Nuke them.
Well, we might try a blockade before we...
Nuke the hell out of them. Nobody will mess with us.
We're gonna make our country great again. We're going to build a wall between us and Spain. And Spain is gonna pay for it. I build the greatest walls. And when I say I mean my slaves. I got great slaves. They're fantastic. Tonight I can report that the United States conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden. I did it. It was me. You're welcome. I'm gonna say this one more time. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. My daughter.
Well, I want to remind people that Donald Trump once said that if Ivanka wasn't his daughter, finish the sentence.
He would date her.
Uh-huh. All right.
Do you think dating's a euphemism?
I don't even want to go there.
I think that was. I think that whole audio was pretty brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, that was pretty brilliant. That was pretty
because
brilliant.
It's exactly what a Trump would have said throughout history.
All right, as you're well aware, Donald Trump was in my home state yesterday in the city of Flint, Michigan, to do a photo op. And as much as Mayor Karen Walker, the mayor of Flint, Michigan, did not want to give Donald Trump a tour of a water treatment plant, she kind of had to. Although she made it very clear to the campaign, to the press, and to her constituents that she was not happy to do it. Donald Trump spent all of 6 minutes addressing Flint, most of it, by the way, in a derogatory manner. And I think he thought he was funny, or whoever wrote this thought it was funny when they said, do you remember a time where you wouldn't go to Mexico and drink the water? Well, now you go to Mexico to buy cars, and you go to Flint, and you can't drink the water.
You see the
Anyway.
Did you see the picture of him in the water plant trying to squeeze between the bars and the support beam?
Yes. Well, you know, when you're 70 years old and the healthiest person that would ever occupy the White House, in spite of your fat ass and fat stomach, whatever. With that said, Donald Trump at that point went to a place of worship where there's a lovely pastor there who, well, I'll let the audio speak for itself, but no, actually I won't. I will set it up.
Please do.
She stopped Donald Trump because he started to bash Hillary Clinton. And she made the point that they couldn't politicize inside a place of worship. And therefore, his comments were unwelcome, and she stopped him short, and he didn't like it. And this is what he had to say.
Well, you know, you say he didn't like it, and I agree with you on that. But he wasn't upset. He was almost sheepish in his reaction. And that's been happening a lot, not only with him, but with his campaign. They start getting shut down, and they look like third graders. You want to talk about body language and facial expressions. They look like third graders. And Donald Trump, when he was approached by this pastor in the middle of giving his anti-Hillary speech, looked like a third grader who had been scolded. So not to belabor the point, but here's the audio.
Hillary failed on the economy, just like she's failed on foreign policy. Everything she touched didn't work out. Nothing. Now Hillary Clinton. Okay. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to go back onto Flint. Okay. Flint's pain is a result of so many different failures, and I must say that no, I never would.
Okay. I want to ask you a question.
Please do.
Did anywhere in that, did you hear anyone in the crowd telling the pastor that she was wrong? Did you hear anyone cheering for Donald Trump?
No.
From all accounts, there were about 20 people in that room?
There were 27.
Oh, 27. Okay.
You're being very unfair to Donald Trump.
There were 27 people in that room. Did you hear a huge round of applause for him?
I didn't, but and I know you didn't edit that out, so no, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and nobody chastised the pastor for telling him that he was here to thank the people of Flint and not to make it a political ploy.
Well, that's not entirely true. Donald Trump did.
Right. Well, do you want to hear Donald Trump's version of this?
Would love to.
Yeah, he was on Fox News this morning, so here we go.
But something was up because I noticed she was so nervous when she introduced me, and she called NBC, ABC. ABC was up, the owner of an NBC network, and she said he owns ABC, and we sort of smiled together backstage. And when she got up to introduce me, she was so nervous, she was shaking, and I said, wow, this is sort of strange. And then she came up. So she had that in mind. There's no question about it.
Bother you? Does it bother you? You
no,
seemed
it
like
doesn't bother me. No, everyone plays their games. It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you what really made me feel good. The audience was saying, let him speak, let him speak.
Right.
And the audience was so great. And these are mostly African-American people, phenomenal people, and they want to see change. I mean, they're living in, you have to see that the crime rate over there is ridiculous. The whole place is, not only the water, the water is, what they did with the water is horrible, but the crime rate and all the other problems they have. And people want to see, when I use the expression, I say, what do you have to lose? I'm going to fix it. Well, I'm going to fix it. What do you have to lose? And I'll tell you, the audience was fantastic, but she was so nervous. She was like a nervous mess. So I figured something was up, really.
She was a nervous mess.
Yeah. I mean, she must not be used to...
Did she sound like a nervous mess?
She must not be used to talking in public.
With white supremacists in her building?
Or something. Because, yeah.
All right. Let's end with a little levity. The Democratic National Committee has put together a public service announcement of sorts. We'll play it. We'll wrap it up after that.
I'm sorry, which one, Tony?
I will vote.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Oh, this is beautiful.
Have you been injured by Donald Trump?
Knock the crap out of him, would you?
Insulted or bullied?
I don't know what I said.
Are you just plain livid that a con man is running for president?
I believe Trump University was a fraudulent scheme.
Well, worry no more. We're the team of Jensen, Peasley, and Weigel. And we're here to get you the representation you deserve.
I've watched Donald Trump insult women numerous times.
I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers.
Like you wouldn't have your job if you weren't beautiful.
But I thought there was nothing I could do. Then I found Jensen, Peasley, and Weigel. They sent me to FwdRad.io, and in a matter of minutes, I registered for the 2016 general election.
How do we know that FwdRad.com works? We helped build the website, and now we want you to get yourself registered.
Thanks to Jensen, Peasley, and Weigel, I don't have to stew in my own anger about Donald Trump's candidacy. I could get myself registered to vote and make sure Trump never makes it to the White House. Take that, Donald Trump.
Head to IWillVote.com. That's IWillVote.com, where we'll take your aggravation and turn it into representation.
IWillVote.com.
Now, I did cut out the little bit at the end that said, we are not attorney or attorney spokesperson. Underneath when they were doing that, underneath their pictures were titles web developer. So, but I thought that was kind of fun to share. All right. Well, that was a fast hour.
It was.
Okay. Well, anyway, listen, let's do the 411 thing again, because it's important that people understand that their support in a lot of different ways manifests into the show growing.
And is extremely important. So you can go to tnz.com, click on support, and find out the ways to support us both financially and morally through reviews and ratings in iTunes.
Morally.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a moral backbone.
That's right. That's right. If you want to, if you would not like to see us on the front pages of newspapers living under a bridge, you can donate through our Patreon page, and you can also go to iTunes and rate and review us, or to iHeartRadio, or any other way. You can also contact us from there. You can call us from there. You can leave a voicemail that will play on the air. Again, that's tnztalk.com. Tony?
All right. Well, God bless everybody. God bless the United States of America. God bless Joy Reid. Not necessarily in that order. With that said, Z, tomorrow, can we talk a little bit about the national anthem scruffle that's still going on?
Yeah.
Because I have been raked over the coals for my stance. I'll just quickly tell you what my stance was, and then tomorrow you and I will throw it out there. There are a lot of ways to protest in this country, and certainly protesting by kneeling or not standing for the national anthem is something that's guaranteed under the First Amendment. Couldn't agree more. I think it's inappropriate to do it. And I'll explain where I'm coming from tomorrow. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, Z gave you all the good info. I just got mad today, so the last one I laughed too hard. This one I got too mad. So maybe tomorrow I'll be balanced. In the meantime, I want everybody to have a great day. Thank you for listening, by the way, all the way to the end. For Richard Zombek, I'm Tony Trupiano, and as always, we ask that you be well.
Oh yeah, can you feel it? Just over the credits, just riffing now. Words and chords. Not the poetry and the real thing, but not bad for an ad-lib. Not good, but... And it's not long enough, so just do a little bit more. And that's nearly done. That's the final credit there. That's the end.